the Blue Jays' problems are starting to get worse. And it's not just one individual problem. It is a collection of problems that is giving this fan base flashbacks of 2024. And that is bad hitting paired with inconsistent pitching. They are also battling with a ton of injuries that will test the Blue Jays' depth over the next couple weeks. However, we do have some key injury updates on some players, and hopefully they're back sooner rather than later. But can the current Blue Jay players weather this storm and get this team back on track? What's up, guys, and welcome back to Blue Jays Today. In this one, I'm going to be updating you all on the latest Blue Jays injuries updates, and we're going to be talking about the depth of this team and whether or not this Blue Jays team is going to be good enough to face some pretty tough opponents. Before we get into it, though, I encourage you guys to hit that like button and subscribe to Blue Jays Today if you enjoy Blue Jays news and content. All right, so as we're recording this video, the Blue Jays are currently on a 4-game losing streak, and how they're doing it is pretty damn bad. Flashing over right here, folks, to this tweet. The Blue Jays have been outscored 28-8 during this 4-game losing streak, so obviously scoring 2 runs per game is not going to win you a lot of ball games, and giving up 7 runs per game, well, that's a recipe for disaster. When the Blue Jays were doing really good and winning a lot of ball games earlier in this month of April, they were doing it with some pretty good offense, like top 10 in average, top 10 in on-base percentage. Yeah, the power wasn't there, but they were getting good timely hitting with runners in scoring position and scoring a decent amount of runs. However, paired with that was a very good pitching staff. They were the top 3 in ERA, and the bullpen, top 15, top 5 in WHIP, top 15 in ERA. And it was very good. When you have that elite pitching staff, you can afford to get by with a weaker, if not middling offense. However, we've kind of gone in the opposite direction. The bullpen has been kind of giving up a lot of runs. The starting pitching staff has been giving up a lot of runs in the last 4 games, and the offense hasn't been scoring anything. So that's kind of where we're at. That's obviously a big problem, but it's just a small 4-game sample size. Maybe they get it back, and the Blue Jays are going to need it soon because, like I mentioned off the top, they have a lot of injuries right now, and their depth is going to be tested. And if these bats are cold, then we're going to really need some people to step up right now. So let's get to the first injury update right here, and that is Dalton Varsho, the one bat that we've been waiting for all season long, which is sad to say if the Blue Jays are really needing a bat back, and it's Dalton Varsho. I mean, he's not a superstar bat by any means, but we know how reliable he is in the outfield, and he can pop a couple here and there. Here's the update from Hazel May. This was a couple days ago. He was going to go to Buffalo yesterday. He did. He made it there. He made himself into a game. He went 0 for 4, as you can see right here, but that's fine. We're not worried about that. We just want Dalton Varsho to get into some game action. He is hoping to play 5 out of 6 days, so literally the next week he's going to be playing in AAA Buffalo. The New York series is not out of the picture. He could be back for then, but if he needs more time, they're not going to rush him. And we should know a little bit more today. I am recording this at 9 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. So if we hear it early or if we hear it later today, let your thoughts be known in the comments down below and tell me and update everybody on that. So Dalton Varsho, obviously we need him just because, A, great defender. We know what he can do out there in center field, but I think B, being a staple in the lineup and just lengthening it even a little bit. Last night we had Andres Gimenez batting third. That's not a winning formula for a Blue Jays team. Santander was out. It was just an off day for him, but when Santander is in the lineup and when Dalton Varsho is back, honestly, I could see Dalton Varsho either batting 4th or 5th, depending on where they want to put George Springer in this lineup, and then moving Andres Gimenez down a slot or 2. That lengthens the lineup a little bit. I would imagine that they would get rid of is a harsh word. They would option Nathan Lucas. He does have one option right here. He'll probably go back down because he is that kind of 5th outfielder, if you will, on this team. He'll be sent back down, and Varsho will be in the lineup. But again, this isn't the solution for the Blue Jays' problems of their lack of power and lack of offense. What this offense needs to do is survive. They need to do what they did earlier this month and get just enough offense to get them a win and hope that they get great pitching. That's what this team's been built off of. There's no secret here. We're not a top 10 in home run team. We honestly probably won't be with this lineup and with these players. We need to be just good enough getting on base, getting timely hitting. And I know that's not the recipe for success in modern day baseball, but that's what they're built to be. They need to do enough and hit their ceiling to get, and they also, here's the thing, they also need to pair that with a great pitching staff. And that's what I'm going to transition to right here, everybody. The Blue Jays have made a few moves in this pitching staff. They've called up some people. They've sent some people down. Let's cover that really quick before we get into some of the injury updates. The first move is that Jacob Barnes, he gone. He cleared waivers, and he's elected free agency. Honestly, goodbye. Jacob Barnes came into the game to clean up, and when he was cleaning up, it wasn't like he was providing any upside. He literally didn't clean up. He actually made a bigger mess than what we started with. So Jacob Barnes, goodbye. He's gone. Next, the next move is Easton Lucas has been optioned to AAA. The Beaston Lucas from 2, 3, 4 starts ago is no more. He had 2 blow-up starts. He's been sent back down. That's okay. Have him work on some things. You know, maybe he comes back up later this year. Maybe he comes back up in a few weeks. We never know. Josh Walker, however, who's been off to a good start with the Bisons, he does get the call. Looking at the Bisons right here, yeah, he was off to a decent start in the Buffalo team down there in AAA. 6 games. He had a 2.57 ERA in 7 innings pitched. The whip is a little bit high, but again, this is your guy that's going to be replacing Jacob Barnes in that cleanup role in the bullpen. So again, I'm not expecting a whole lot. Just maybe don't, blow the game way out of the water. Maybe give us a couple innings or two, down there in the depth of our bullpen. But again, we're not expecting a whole lot from Josh Walker. Now, looking at the bullpen right now, you can see that it is going to be absolutely tested because we have lost a lot of depth due to injuries, which we'll get to in a little bit in this video. Going up and down the depth chart, obviously we have Jeff Hoffman, Jimmy Garcia, Chad Green, Brendan Little. That has been the 4-man reliable workhorse in this bullpen. And as you can see right here, they've been pretty good. The ERAs are really low, right? 159 for Jeff Hoffman, 0 from Jimmy, 279 from Chad Green, and 253 from Brandon Little. Now, I know ERA isn't everything, but they have been solid, and they have been, for the most part, very reliable. And then this is where you start to see a little bit of the depth being tested. Yariel, to begin the season, was our last pitcher on the totem pole. He was our long relief man down there. Now he's starting to become that middle relief pitcher. And Yariel, when you watch him pitch, you'll either see phenomenal pitching like we saw last Saturday, 2 innings, no earned runs. It was a little bit shaky how he got the no earned runs, but still no earned runs. And then you'll see what happened last night against Houston. Just doesn't have it. He's got a 5.23 ERA. Mason Fluharty, I've been very impressed with actually recently. I wanted to talk about him, on a social media post later. He's been very solid ever since he got blown up in New York like 3 weeks ago. He's been very solid. I'm not mad, but again, let's see what he does now that he's going to be forced into some higher leverage situations. Dylan Tate, we have no idea what we're going to get from him. Josh Walker, same thing, no idea. Paxton Schultz, even though he set an MLB record, that's awesome for most strikeouts by a reliever in their debut. Again, is this another Easton Lucas situation? What's going to happen if he makes a few mistakes? We'll see what that is, but you can clearly see that, even the last 4 there, I'm looping in Fluharty. Maybe I'll loop in Yariel instead of Fluharty. The last 4 are not very reliable. And, if you get into situations where your starting pitchers are going to be ending the game early for their standpoint, 5 innings, 4 innings, 6 innings, then you're going to have to get in some situations where you're pitching a lot of these guys. Now, speaking of a lot of the starting pitchers, they are going to be tested as well. Hey guys, time for a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video. Hit your picks and knock it out of the park with Betway. Scan the QR code down below or click the link in the description to join the action. Available in Ontario only, must be 19 years older to participate. And guys, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content. We got this Max Scherzer injury update on Monday. Now, it's a little bit older news, but it is very important because, again, like I said, we need the starting pitching to go deep, but they're also going to be tested. These older veteran pitchers are going to be going down to a 4-man rotation soon. But right now, Scherzer, he's not looking like he's coming back anytime soon. We're probably not going to see him for the next couple weeks because he still has to throw 75 pitches in a game. He's very blunt with that, and he's not going to be back anytime soon. If he's just starting to throw right now, man, it could be a month. It could be a month and a half. Like, it could be a long, long time. So the rotation has to manage until then. So, like I was saying, the rotation is going to be going down to a 4-man rotation. The Blue Jays are planning to skip the 5th spot in the rotation this upcoming week because they do have an off day. Hell, they might even try and do that somewhere down the road too. But again, that's a little bit scary when you are considering this older veteran pitching staff. But they will be going back to a 5th-man spot once the rotation comes back around. Because if we look back at the schedule, once they go one more time through, here's the month of April. They could skip it here on the 24th, do a 3-game series in New York. They have another off day. And then you got to get back on track when you're in the Boston series back in Toronto. Because you got 3 games in Boston and then 3 games against the Guardians. Then you got an off day. You have to pitch a 5-man rotation in that stretch of time because you cannot be having guys at their age pitching on short rest. So who the hell, they can survive for now, but who the hell is going to be pitching in that 5th-man spot, especially if Max Scherzer probably isn't going to come back. I would even anticipate late April, early June is probably an optimistic return timetable for Max Scherzer. So who the hell is going to be pitching? Well, I looked at the depth earlier. You could see maybe Paxton Schultz steps in for a start. That could be a little Band-Aid solution. But again, that's not encouraging by any means. Maybe Uriel does a piggyback one day, but he hasn't been really stretched out a whole lot. Maybe gives you a one-time through the lineup kind of thing. But then you might think, okay, what about our depth? Who else do we got? Some people have been bringing up Jake Bloss on the podcast. Jake Bloss has been getting eaten alive down there in AAA Buffalo. So far, in 4 games, this dude has an 11.81. Excuse me, that's a advanced metric. He's got a 7.31 ERA with a WHIP of 2.125. He's giving up at a little bit more than 2 walks and hits per inning. Now, if you ask me, I'm not throwing Jake Bloss into the major leagues at all right now. I'd actually rather have this band-aided bullpen kind of putting a little concoction of misfits together to get me through a 5th start than I would Jake Bloss right now. He doesn't look like he's major league ready at all. So that's going to be a challenge for the Blue Jays moving forward. Now, final little bits in this video. We're going to bring you up to speed with the latest injury updates because I just showed you the Band-Aid bullpen right now. But are we going to get any of these guys back anytime soon? Probably not, guys. Probably not. We got an Eric Swanson update. This came yesterday. He has the elbow injury, and he is scheduled to throw a bullpen today as of recording this video. And then he wants to get into some game action on Saturday in the Blue Jays extended spring training. If everything goes well, he'll begin a rehab assignment next week. So if we go look over at our schedule, next week would be that Boston series and the Cleveland Guardians series on the weekend. That's when he's going to be hopefully pitching, probably in AAA for the Bisons. And everything all goes well there. Maybe you see him back against the Angels, Seattle, Tampa Bay, etc., etc. But the important thing is we're going to be missing him throughout that entire tough stretch there with Boston, Cleveland, and New York. And the other thing to note with Eric Swanson, we have to keep in mind we can't expect him to come back and be 110%, striking guys out, being an elite reliever like we hoped he would be from many years ago. It's going to take him some time to get up to speed. Same thing happened to him last year. Nick Sandlin, unexpected injury happening to him. He hit the 15-day IL just 2 days ago, everybody. And if you do the math, that will also have him missing the entire stretch of gauntlet that we have left in this schedule of April to May. So we should not be expecting him to come back anytime soon, and he won't be back for this Angels, Seattle, and maybe Tampa Bay Rays series. He might be back for that. So those are the injury updates on those guys. So all that being said, folks, Blue Jays offense is cold right now. We need them to get back. We need them to start scoring runs. Getting hits and getting on base would be a good start. We need them to do that. But paired with that, you also need this Blue Jays bullpen that looks like a concoction of misfits right now to go and get you some shutout games, shutout ball, and to help the starting pitchers too. Because the starting pitchers are going through a rough patch in themselves. Everybody's going through a rough patch. You got to have the starting pitchers step up. Give us every last ounce of that arm you've got, because you're going to be pitching, on overdrive or overtime right now. And we need you to go and carry us through this rough stretch while we're waiting for Max Scherzer. So everybody needs to, in their own right, step up right now. That's the reality. And if the Blue Jays don't step up and start performing and picking up and doing more than what we expected, because again, this bullpen, we're not expecting anything from these guys. They actually need to pull up their boots and do a lot better than what we expected. And that's the tough reality right now of the whole situation. The Blue Jays are going through a rough patch, but we need them to get through it and get through it clean, because if we don't, the Blue Jays team record could be looking very, very bad by the beginning of May. And we all know what happened last year when the Blue Jays record was terrible. Heading into May, the team wasn't very good. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you worried about this stretch? It's a lot to digest. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and as always, guys, go Jays go.